Hi guys! Today we'll be recapping a story called I Became a Human's Daughter. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Enjoy! The gods praised the child born from the most beautiful and largest rose of the year. Some admired her beauty. Others marveled at her immense divine power. All sensed it. The goddess born from the rose would end the age of Acheron and become their new king. That was 200 years ago, the birth of goddess Ariel. Two angel-like creatures approach Ariel, excitedly asking about the party. Annoyed, she squishes one. In her room, Ariel recalls the party. Her excitement about making flowers bloom is cut short by two persons mocking her. They laugh at her control of divine power and scoff at the idea of her becoming the next king. Ariel, born with power rivaling Acheron, still cannot master it. She feels pathetic, acknowledging that for 200 years she has failed to awaken and still can't escape the image of a child. But still, she thinks that doesn't give anyone the right to make fun of her. She walks to her bed, deciding to sleep first. She'll practice tomorrow to master her divine power. While still half asleep, Ariel hears voices that irritate her. When she wakes up to shut them up, she is shocked to find herself in the middle of a town, not in her bed. A few people stand in front of her, worried and confused by her strange behavior. Ariel realizes that she's seeing humans. Sitting on the ground, clueless, she wonders if this is the surface she has only heard about in stories. A woman shakes her gently, trying to bring her back to her senses. Suddenly, the Grand Duke arrives with Ren, his attendant, drawing everyone's attention. The woman explains she was only helping a strange child. The Duke notes that Ariel looks like a noble's daughter and instructs Ren to bring her to the security team. At that moment, Ariel has a brilliant idea. She grabs the Duke's cape and tells him she doesn't know how to return to the heavenly realm. She asks him to take care of her, figuring it's best to rely on someone who seems powerful and wealthy. People are shocked when Ariel boldly commands the Duke to lead the way. They rush to stop her, saying she shouldn't speak so rudely to His Highness and must apologize. The Duke, however, brushes them off with little concern and tells them to let it go. He even instructs Ren to get her into the carriage as if it's no big deal. Inside, Ariel gazes out the window, wide-eyed at the sights of the human world. The scenery is nothing like the heavenly realm she's known. She then glances at the Duke, seated across from her, calmly watching her. She includes him in her quiet gratitude. Because of him, she now has a place to stay, even if just temporarily. The Duke breaks the silence, casually asking for her name. Ariel feels slightly disrespected by his tone. For a human, he speaks with no honorifics, despite her being a goddess. Still, she lets it slide, telling herself it's fine since he's offering her shelter. She tells him her name. Ren cuts in, saying the name sounds familiar. It's the name of a goddess. He briefly recounts the goddess's story, which perfectly matches Ariel's own. Ariel feels flattered, even a little pleased, wondering if humans truly remember her despite this being the first time she's revealed herself in person. But the Duke ruins the moment. He scoffs, calling the goddess stupid, born to rule but unable to wield divine power, turning into a joke among gods. Ariel freezes. Her flattery fades into quiet rage. She's deeply offended, but keeps it to herself. When the carriage stops, the Duke steps out and offers his hand. Ariel pointedly ignores him and walks to Ren instead, asking him to guide her, shooting the Duke a sharp look. The Duke just shrugs and tells Ren to bring her along. At the palace, servants gather to greet them. One of them, Martin, asks if the Duke wants his usual bath prepared first. Instead, the Duke says to serve the meal. Ariel must be hungry. Martin, caught off guard, eyes her suspiciously. Then the Duke adds that Ariel will be escorted to his room after the meal. Martin stiffens, puzzled, silently trying to piece things together. Blonde hair, green eyes, just like the Duke. She must be the Duke's daughter. While eating, Ariel can't help but blush at how surprisingly good human food tastes. Martin leans in and remarks how she's just like her father, watching her enjoy the Duke's favorite dish. The word father throws Ariel off for a moment, but she quickly brushes it aside and continues eating. Martin smiles, thinking how strange it is that the Grand Duchess had an illegitimate child. He recalls how the Duchess was very sick and died shortly after giving birth to her first child. But ghosts don't give birth. This child, Ariel, must be the daughter of the Archduke's secret lover. He tells himself the Duke must have had many reasons for keeping it secret until now. Martin feels honored, ready to take on the responsibility of caring for the Duke's daughter. After the meal, Martin escorts Ariel to the Duke's room. The Duke asks if the food was to her liking. She replies plainly, unable to forget the harsh words he said earlier in the carriage. The Duke uncovers a plate, revealing a batch of cookies. Ariel stares at them, puzzled. Could it be clay for decoration? When the Duke tells her to eat, she's shocked. Why would he offer her a lump of earth? Ariel feels insulted, thinking it's too much. She considers giving him divine punishment, but knowing she doesn't even have the power to punish one human now, she accepts that she must stay on Earth until she finds a way back. She forces herself to eat the cookie. To her surprise, the lump of earth turns out to be delicious. She gushes over how flavorful human soil is. Her excitement is cut short when the Duke suddenly asks if she knows her surname. Ariel stands frozen, unsure what to say. The Duke assumes she doesn't know and decides to have Ren look into it. Ariel is relieved that there are no more questions. She can now enjoy more cookies. But just as she reaches for another, the Duke tells her she may step back. A maid immediately escorts her out. Meanwhile, a young boy with blonde hair hears talk about Ariel and how the servants say she looks just like His Highness. He smiles, curious and eager to see her face. The maids compliment Ariel as they bathe her, admiring the silkiness of her hair and the softness of her skin. Still, they whisper among themselves, wondering why she looks so down. Perhaps something has displeased her. Normally, Ariel would take in such compliments with pride, head high and chin raised. But this time, her mind is elsewhere. All she can think about are the cookies she left behind, untouched and uneaten. Meanwhile, Lord Ahin feels no sense of threat from Ariel, even if she turns out to be part of the Cloudif family. His father, the Grand Duke, is not the type to take back what he has once declared. Whatever decision was made, it will stand. Still, Ahin finds some relief in all this. At least the long-standing rumors about his father being a man-lover are now proven false. He doesn't see Ariel as a rival, but one thought lingers in his mind. What kind of woman could have charmed a man as strict and unyielding as the Grand Duke? As Ahin and his servant reach the room where Ariel is said to be staying, they pause at the door. At first glance, she's nowhere in sight, making them wonder if they entered the wrong place. But Ahin waits. He's patient, and he's determined to see the face everyone's talking about. His gaze falls on a stack of cookies piled awkwardly on a nearby table. They look oddly precious, despite being so carelessly arranged. Curious, he leans towards the table and picks one up. Suddenly, Ariel appears, her eyes blazing with outrage. She storms toward him, clearly enraged and possessive over her cookies. She warns him not to touch them without permission, voice sharp and unwavering. She points straight at him, demanding he return it to the plate. Ahin's servant watches in disbelief. Never has anyone spoken to Lord Ahin like that, especially not a girl rumored to be an illegitimate child. Ahin, without a word, crushes the cookie in his hand. The crumbs fall through his fingers. His anger simmers. He can no longer let this slide. He feels the need to show her, here and now, who holds the power. Otherwise, it might become a bigger problem later. As the maids open the door to serve tea to Ariel, they are shocked to see Ahin kneeling in front of her, cleaning up the cookie crumbs on the floor. Moments later, Ahin and Ariel are seated across from each other at the table. Both seem calmer now. Ahin, however, finds it strange how he ended up obeying Ariel so easily, showing a side of himself that feels unfamiliar. As he watches her quietly from across the table, he catches himself admiring her features. Her eyes, her lips and nose, her flushed cheeks and playful expressions. Realizing what he's thinking, he quickly brushes it off, insisting to himself that all children are cute. It's not like Ariel is especially adorable. Ariel notices Ahin groaning and grows impatient. She wonders why he brought her here for tea. Ahin calmly apologizes for earlier, saying he didn't mean to dirty the room, and introduces himself. He explains that he was caught off guard by the news of someone new joining the Duke's household, which made him act rudely. He then asks for her name, and she responds. Ahin pauses. Her name rings a bell. It's the name of the foolish goddess born from a rose. Ariel's face tightens, but before she can react, Ahin says Ariel Cloudif is a good name. This confuses her. Her name is just Ariel. Ahin realizes his father hasn't officially given her the family name yet, but assures her not to worry. Now that she's in the Duke's residence and part of the Cloudif family, she won't just be Ariel anymore. This makes Ariel think. She's only staying for a while, yet she's expected to carry a human family name? Human customs seem strange to her. Suddenly curious, she asks Ahin about his relationship with father and why he's telling her all this. Ahin simply replies that they share the same blood, which puzzles Ariel. She believes humans literally share blood and might die from it. With a horrified look, she asks if it's the same blood flowing inside the body. Ahin smirks and confirms it. Terrified, Ariel faints, firmly believing her blood belongs to no one. Ren reports to the Duke that there are no records of any child with blonde hair and green eyes, as confirmed by all administrative offices in the capital. The Duke finds it strange. For a child with a dignified appearance, fine clothing, and an attitude used to ordering others, she doesn't seem like someone who would wander aimlessly. As they talk, a maid bursts in. Ren scolds her for not knocking, but she quickly apologizes and says the matter is urgent. The Duke calms her and asks what happened. She leads him to the room where Ariel lies asleep. When the Duke asks Martin for an explanation, he hesitates. A maid explains that Ariel was simply speaking with a young master when she suddenly collapsed. Even the doctor found nothing wrong with her. The Duke, unconvinced, repeats the question. Martin can only say she fainted without warning. The Duke grows frustrated. How could a healthy child collapse so suddenly? Ariel suddenly wakes and interrupts, declaring she will not give her blood. The Duke is confused and asks the maids if they did anything strange to her while he was away. They deny it immediately. He thinks for a moment, then it clicks. Could Ariel be a blood bag? A slave used for illegal blood transfusions, a hidden but persistent crime in the Empire. Her sudden appearance without family raises his suspicions. The Grand Duke blames himself for failing to maintain order, but first they must calm the child. Ariel is crying, terrified. She believes more people are after her blood and fears dying because of it. The Duke gently taps her head and assures her that no one will harm her. She is safe with him. Ariel is confused. She thought he came to take her blood, yet now he speaks kindly. She asks if he truly won't take it. The Duke responds by asking what he would even use it for and if she can tell him who threatened her. Seeing his kindness, Ariel realizes he may not be as bad as she thought. Just as she's about to answer, she sees Ahin. She screams and points at him. Both Ahin and the Duke are stunned. Ahin is confused why she's accusing him, but before she can explain, Ariel faints again. The Duke, now more serious, tells Ahin to follow him. Ahin, panicked, tries to explain that it's all a misunderstanding. It's been a week since Ariel suddenly fell to Earth and began living in a human's house. Lying in bed, she thinks about how glad she is that everything turned out to be a misunderstanding. She tells herself that humans are kind-hearted after all. Now that things are cleared up, she can finally relax and close her eyes. Moments later, Ariel shoots up, annoyed by how the place, despite its sheer scale, feels dull. Jane, one of the maids, notices she's awake, surprising Ariel. She didn't even know Jane was there. Jane suggests going out to ease her boredom, and Ariel agrees. She gets out of bed, excited, and tells Jane they should go out. Meanwhile, Ahin stands at the foot of the stairs, arms crossed, still bitter over Ariel falsely accusing him. He went through so much to clear things up with his father, who already apologized after learning it was a mistake. Still, Ahin tells himself that if they ever meet again, no matter how much she cries, he won't forgive her. Just then, Ariel runs down the stairs. Ahin sees this as the perfect moment to remind her who's superior. Ariel looks up, wondering if Ahin offered to be her guide, seeing how he's just standing there. Ahin looks at her and for a moment finds her adorable, but realizing his thoughts, he slaps himself in disbelief. Jane is delighted and honored that Ahin is joining them. He realizes what's going on and simply goes along with it, saying it would be concerning to let them go out alone. As they stroll through town, Ahin watches Jane buy Ariel clothes and accessories nonstop. Suddenly, Ariel tugs at his sleeve, complaining her feet hurt and she doesn't want to walk anymore. Ahin sighs, thinking how troublesome she is. He tells Jane to finish shopping while they rest. He then brings Ariel to a cafe, glad for the break. Ariel observes the place when she catches a familiar scent. Cookies, or as she calls them, soil clumps. Someone approaches Ahin and asks to speak with him. Ahin informs Ariel he'll step away for a while. She eagerly pushes him off. Finally, her chance to get cookies. Beaming with excitement, Ariel orders someone to bring her the finest soil clumps they have. While Ahin is attending to a matter outside the cafe where Ariel waits, he hears a familiar scream. He and Jane rush over and find Ariel crying, dismayed by the plate of soil clumps she was served, just as she ordered. Back at the mansion, Jane brings Ariel real cookies. Ariel finally learns what these soil clumps are actually called. She is delighted and happily eats them. Jane warns her not to eat too much or she'll get a stomachache, but promises to give her more tomorrow. Ariel initially refuses, but is comforted by Jane's gentle pat on the head and gives in. Ariel then says she's bored and wants to go out again. Jane explains that they need permission from His Highness or young Master Ahin, but both are away today. Ariel looks disappointed. She can't believe she needs human permission just to step outside. Jane comforts her and mentions that the Duke will return early for dinner. Maybe he's worried, since such an adorable daughter is waiting for her daddy to come home. The word daddy catches Ariel off guard. Jane suggests Ariel take the chance to talk to him when he returns. Left alone in her room, Ariel lies on her bed reading a book. Grand Duke, His Highness, Father, Daddy, Daughter. She wonders what all these words truly mean. Then it strikes her. Even if she can't leave the mansion, she's free to walk inside it. She heads to the mansion's garden, overjoyed by the soft soil and fresh air. The garden's beauty mesmerizes her, but as she strolls, a bee stings her. Outraged, she yells at the bee, demanding to know how it dares wound the skin of a goddess. She demands an apology. When no apology comes, Ariel grows angrier, until she notices a swarm of bees. They attack, chasing her out of the garden. Without realizing it, she runs far beyond the mansion. When the bees finally leave, Ariel finds herself in a completely unfamiliar place. It's dark, and she can't see the path home. Suddenly, a raven swoops down and attacks. She closes her eyes, covering her face in defense. Just then, a familiar voice calls out. It's the Duke. He's been searching for her, wondering where she went. Ariel looks up, realizing it's her daddy, a word she nearly says. Ariel jumps into the Duke's arms, hugging him tightly and calling him Papa. The Duke is both shocked and confused. Earlier that day, the Duke spent hours inspecting the territory, but due to the land's vastness, he's exhausted and looks forward to resting once home. But when he arrives at the mansion, Ariel is nowhere to be found. The maids begin searching frantically. The Duke questions Martin, but before he can answer, the Duke bolts out. If Ariel isn't in the mansion, she must have wandered into the forest. Worried that a beast might attack her, the Duke searches until he hears her scream. The moment he sees her, relief washes over him, and then she runs into his arms. Back at the mansion, a doctor treats the swelling on Ariel's face. She winces from the sting and still hasn't gotten over the bee attack. From a distance, the Duke quietly watches, recalling the moment in the forest. Ariel calling him Papa. Not even a hen has ever called him that. His thoughts are interrupted when the doctor finishes and reminds him to apply the medication properly. The Duke tells everyone to return to their duties now that Ariel is safe. As he finally prepares to rest, Ariel grabs his clothes. When he asks why, Ariel hesitantly says it's dangerous. What if something attacks again? The Duke reassures her that nothing can enter and points out that the windows are securely closed. But when Ariel looks, she sees two ravens outside. She runs back to the Duke, terrified they might break in. The Duke watches her and realizes she truly is just a child. He kneels to her level and asks what would help her sleep. Ariel says she wants him to stay by her side. On her bed, the Duke sits beside her, but she notices the distance and asks him to stay closer. He moves near, which comforts Ariel, finally letting her sleep peacefully. As she dozes off, the Duke feels like he's gained a daughter, and maybe that isn't so bad. But he accidentally falls asleep beside her. The next morning, the Duke wakes to Ariel sleep-talking and pounding his forehead. She mutters about divine punishment and declares herself the Great Ariel. The Duke sighs, realizing that last night's soft sentiment might have just been a fleeting illusion. He may have gotten ahead of himself just a little. Ariel calls her father again, which he presumably thinks is because she wants him to sleep beside her again. A fact she haughtily confirms shortly after. It's been a week since this has been going on, and the Duke is clearly troubled, thinking that he needs to clarify some things to her soon. Shortly after Ariel leaves, Martin whispers to him that perhaps it's time for Ariel to learn her lessons. Of course, the Duke is confused. Is it really normal to give lessons to a child who isn't even his? But then he realizes that perhaps it wouldn't be a waste, especially since she doesn't seem to have supportive parents. Upon hearing his approval, Martin proudly proclaims that he'll take care of matters regarding Ariel's lessons. Shortly after, a veteran tutor named Martha Gallia is introduced to Ariel, who is very much confused. Martin promptly leaves, abandoning her to the mercy of Martha, who immediately wants to begin the lessons. Meanwhile, a tired Ahin has just finished his literature lessons. Literature is not something he is particularly fond of. He would have preferred swordsmanship training or sparring instead. Shortly after, he stumbles upon Ariel hiding behind the curtains. Confused, he curiously asks why, but she refuses to answer. He claims that he has the right to know, since entering this room requires his permission. Defeated, she reveals that the reason she's hiding is because of detestable humans who want her to learn confusing letters. Ahin pauses to process what she just said, then realizes she's probably hiding from the new tutor. As his realization grows, her despair grows as well. She then claims that she doesn't find learning letters difficult, rather, she feels there's no need to. On top of that, it's also super boring. But Ahin strongly disagrees with her statement that it's not necessary. Learning letters can eventually lead to gaining knowledge, and someone with great knowledge tends to be someone people follow. It's a good trait for leaders, as opposed to being underestimated by others. Though she understands his point, having experienced being looked down on herself, she still feels reluctant because, again, it's boring. As quick-witted as Ahin is, he comes up with a solution to motivate Ariel. He'll reward her with cookies if she studies. Of course, it's effective, perhaps even too effective, to the point that it becomes detrimental. Even after running out of cookies, she still wants to study just so she can eat more. Ariel continues to study, but after finishing one page, she decides to eat one more cookie. Just as she's about to eat it, her stomach aches unbearably. Worried, Ahin immediately calls a doctor. And of course, since she's now not allowed to eat any more cookies, naturally she would also stop studying. I mean, that was her main motivator after all. Meanwhile, Ahin feels troubled that he has to be accountable for this, especially because he suggested the idea. Now he's even more troubled because he doesn't know how to lure Ariel into studying. Seeing his visible concern, Jane decides to tell him something that could push Ariel to study. Thinking this is a brilliant idea, he decides to tell her exactly this. Though she is initially skeptical because what could be more enticing than cooking? He then reveals that he's offering for them to go out. And of course, she's going to take that offer. She's been stuck inside the mansion for days and is already super bored. But that also means she has to reluctantly study with Martha. The following day, Ariel is getting dressed and ready for her anticipated activity outside. For her, this is very well deserved because she has been studying hard just so she can go out on this day. Jane then reminds her that outside is very dangerous, so by no means should she let go of her brother Ahin's hand. This prompts Ariel to ponder how many titles humans have after hearing the term brother. Outside, Ariel is holding Ahin's hand tightly, but unbeknownst to them, the people around are already gazing and gossiping about them. And of course, some go above and beyond with this. A noble lady talks ill not only about the Duke, but also about Ariel, stating that she'll never become his daughter because she's an illegitimate child. In reality, she's just bitter that the Duke completely ignored her family's marriage proposal. She then speculates that the reason the Duke kept her hidden for so long is because her mother is of low status. Of course, Ahin, who hears all this, does not let it slide. He confronts the lady, stating that someone who talks ill of the royal family, revealing that the Grand Duke is the brother of the Emperor, will face prosecution. But the lady doesn't back down and continues to talk down on Ariel. Shortly after, Ariel intervenes, and as soon as she shows herself, the lady immediately raises her hand and hits Ariel. The Duke sits down with Ahin to discuss the appropriate punishment for the lady. The Duke then wonders why they need to go so far in punishing someone, to which Ahin claims that someone speaking ill of his father, as well as the illegitimate child of the Cloud of Bloodline, can't just be let slide. But just as the Duke hears Ahin utter those words, something strikes him. Confusion arises in his mind, prompting him to ask what he means. Before Ahin can answer, Ren barges into the room, whispering in his ear that rumors have spread since he picked up Ariel from the streets. Rumors saying that she's an illegitimate child. He still can't wrap his head around how such a rumor could have become so dramatized, to which Ren explains that it's because Ariel looks very much like the Duke, giving the rumor more validity. The Duke feels defeated as he slowly realizes that the reason everyone in the mansion is acting strange, especially with Ariel's arrival, is because of those rumors. While he's still trying to figure out how to mitigate this ever-increasing misunderstanding, Martin and Ahin speak up, stating that if the Duke is affected by these rumors, then he's not as formidable a Duke as everyone perceives him to be. Of course, this confuses him even more. Why is he being guilt-tripped over rumors he didn't even know existed until earlier? He also can't clear up these rumors because of the repercussions Ariel might face. Shortly after, another figure barges into the room, Ariel. She tells the Duke to treat her immediately since she's been hurt. Upon seeing this adorable sight, he orders Ren to prepare all the necessary documents because he's going to adopt Ariel. Later, the lady from earlier and her father are prostrating themselves, asking for forgiveness from the Duke. He then redirects their attention to Ariel, stating that they should be asking her forgiveness instead of his. He asks Ariel what appropriate punishment for them would be, which clearly horrifies them. After a careful and devious thought, Ariel's punishment is simply that they do not eat for 3 days. The room is met with silence, and moments later, the Duke struggles to contain his laughter. He then looks at her with amusement and states that she's such a merciful daughter, adopting the idea that she is his own. He then tells him that if they break this punishment, they will be put on trial. That evening, the Duke ponders that he never expected to adopt a child and raise her. Shortly after, a messenger from the palace arrives, announcing that the Duke and Ariel have been summoned to the palace. On the way to the palace, the Duke is pondering his brother, His Majesty's timely call to summon them. He had already planned on visiting him, it's just that he never expected him to reach out first. Apparently, the Emperor adores him so much since he's the only biological brother he has. But ever since he rose to the throne, all of his half-siblings were eliminated by his own hands. The Emperor is a merciless man. Now, with that in mind, the only thing the Duke hopes for is that Ariel does not upset his brother. But when the Emperor eventually sees Ariel, he can't seem to contain himself. He expresses his adoration toward her to a great extent. Of course, this unprecedented sight baffles not only the servants, but also the Duke. He wonders if he's even the same person. He had anticipated that Ariel might upset him, but that seems not to be the case. The Emperor immediately becomes giddy as he lays eyes on Ariel. Right now, the Emperor is spoiling Ariel, feeding her cake. Of course, this embarrasses the Duke, who brought her here. He then orders everyone in the room to leave the three of them so that he can save the dignity of his brother. Of course, Ariel pays them no mind, as she's still enjoying the delightful taste of the cake. Seeing this, the Duke then orders Jane to take her away. After they leave, he reminds the Emperor to maintain his dignity. Once the Emperor straightens up, he expresses how very unusual this is for him to see, especially with his brother being a man who dislikes women, to have an illegitimate child. He then apologizes, but before he can continue, the Emperor childishly expresses how he wanted a daughter so badly that having the Duke have one first feels so unfair. He then calls out the name of his brother, revealing it to be Bedel, asking if he can share his secret to having a daughter. Not wanting to prolong this misunderstanding further, he reveals that he just found Ariel. The Emperor then expresses surprise, because if she's really not his child, then how come they look so much alike? Bedel then notices a strange feeling. Perhaps the Emperor wants Ariel for himself, but he doesn't give this idea much thought since the Emperor immediately shuts it down. He then states that he's willing to adopt her, but seems opposed to it. The Emperor tells him that having Ahin unaware of his decision is very troublesome, so he's only willing to discuss this if Ahin approves. Bedel informs Ahin that the Emperor rejected his proposal to have Ariel added to the royal family registry, emphasizing that his opinion is crucial for its approval. He then apologizes for bringing it up, even though it has been on his mind for a while. Ahin then speaks up, saying that since Ariel is already there, there's nothing he can do. Even if she were added to the family registry, her existence and adoption into the family won't be enough to shake his position. He admits that he has grown fond of her as well, and if they do send her away, who knows if she'll be taken care of? Upon hearing this, Bedel seems pleased. Shortly, the three of them arrive at the palace to settle the matter, but similar to what happened before, Ariel captures much of the Emperor's attention, as if Bedel and Ahin don't even exist. Bedel tries to get his brother's attention, but he just tells him to shut up and that important matters will be dealt with later. Of course, they're not amused by this, so Bedel goes on to say that since Ahin is already here, it's best to continue their discussion regarding Ariel's adoption. However, the Emperor seems to have ignored Ahin's existence ever since they arrived, not even noticing him until Ahin finally speaks up. Seeing the distracted Emperor, Jane takes Ariel away once more. Now, Ariel is in the beautiful royal gardens. Shortly, she hears a rustling sound. As she looks over, she sees a very familiar-looking child. She wonders what exactly she's thinking, and soon realizes that the child resembles a puppy. The boy then exclaims as she points at him, upsetting the little boy. He breaks into tears, and though she tries to console him, his twin brother arrives. Seeing the identical twins, Ariel's anxiety rapidly increases as they remind her of the legendary creature Fabio, notorious for being exiled for plotting against the Acheron. Right now, she feels helpless, having heard rumors before that he is an extremely reckless monster with outrageous strength. She then tries to provoke them, but the boys are just puzzled by how weird she is. Shortly, a hen arrives, and upon seeing her, she promptly embraces him tightly out of fear, uttering Fabio's name repeatedly. Though a hen is initially confused upon gazing at the twins, he realizes that she's talking about them, prompting him to reassure her, saying that they're not monsters but princes, the emperor's sons. A hen then tells her the names of the twins. The crybaby one is Elver, and the tough one is Claude. Meanwhile, the other brothers, Duke and the Emperor, continue discussing adding Ariel to the royal registry. Apparently, the Emperor is still opposed to it despite a hen's approval. He seems concerned about Bedel's honor and the fact that Ariel is of unknown origin. It is absolutely unthinkable for her to be adopted into the royal registry. Though Bedel tries to convince him, the Emperor remains firmly opposed to the idea. He then tells him that they will discuss this once more when the Empress arrives. Shortly after, they hear the kids screaming at each other. Meanwhile, the kids are still arguing about their status, but the twins are upset by Ariel's prideful attitude despite her unknown origin. Claude then threatens her with a punishment, but she is so ignorant she can't comprehend. Shortly, the Emperor and Bedel arrive, asking about the commotion. The twins then tell on Ariel, but instead of being upset, the Emperor dotes on her even more, agreeing with her statement that his sons resemble puppies. Of course, this puzzles the princes. On the way back, Bedel and a hen once again discuss the Emperor's refusal to add Ariel to the registry, despite his visible adoration for her. They eventually decide to head to the temple for approval, so the Emperor won't have any say about it. Upon arrival at the temple, Bedel is greeted with a letter from the Emperor stating that he had already anticipated Bedel would visit the temple to seek approval for the adoption, so he had already informed the temple not to allow him inside. Dumbfounded, Bedel and a hen cannot help but feel helpless as they listen to the guards refuse them entry. This prompts Bedel to wonder if there is another reason why the Emperor is so strongly opposed. Meanwhile, Ariel wakes up sensing a familiar yet revolting aura around her. She bursts out of the carriage, ignoring the commotion between Bedel and the guards, and enters the temple herself. Inside the temple, she sees Arande, the goddess of beauty, love, and family. Of course, the two are not on good terms. Upon entering, Arande immediately speaks condescendingly to her. Ariel asks for help to return to heaven, but her pleas fall on deaf ears. Instead, Arande mocks her and tells her to kneel, as a human would when asking a god for help. Though reluctant and with no other choice, Ariel agrees. While Ariel kneels, Arande continues to belittle her, saying that there's no point in returning to heaven since, despite being destined to be a king, she's powerless, no different from a human. Arande tells her to remain in the human world, and above all, to make sure no human discovers she's a god, then leaves a desperate Ariel behind. After Arande leaves, Ariel feels no gratitude whatsoever. She swears that once she returns to heaven, she will make sure Arande receives her payback. Bedel returns to the palace and tells his brother to stop, but once again the Emperor is distracted by Ariel, completely ignoring him. Irritated by Bedel's remark, the Emperor retorts that he should be the one who needs to stop. Stop burning the presents he's trying to give to Ariel. It is revealed that the reason the Emperor is so opposed to Bedel adopting Ariel is that he wants Ariel for himself. Although Bedel had suspicions, he never thoroughly entertained the idea. Now that it has been revealed, the Emperor constantly gives gifts, which prompts Bedel to order the servants to burn them all. The Emperor complains, asking why Bedel is so possessive of Ariel when they're not blood-related. He insists that he should be the one to adopt Ariel since he has been longing for a daughter. Upon hearing this, a hen is confused why they said that Ariel isn't his father's real daughter, but he quickly dismisses the idea as unimportant, focusing instead on the fact that his uncle, the Emperor, is trying to steal his sister. Initially, a hen doesn't like Ariel because she was a spoiled brat, but the more he gets to know her, the more attached he becomes. This is why he feels compelled to make his feelings clear to the Emperor. He then calls out to the Emperor, catching his attention, and expresses how surprised he was upon hearing that Ariel's father had an illegitimate child. He never would have expected his father to do such a thing, especially since it would tarnish their reputation. Now, Ahin shares his father's sentiment, to face the past without running away, which is why he respects his father so much. Being a member of the Cloudif family, he will support his father's decisions. The Emperor wholeheartedly agrees, affirming that indeed, his father, the Grand Duke, is a responsible man who faces challenges head-on, but that he absolutely cannot give up on Ariel. Hearing this, Ahin has no choice but to use his last trick. He brings up the fact that the Emperor also cannot adopt Ariel because the princes, Elver and Claude, will never approve. The Emperor is dumbfounded. Ahin continues, saying that the Emperor initially asked for his opinion since a child's voice matters, so that means he also needs to hear the opinions of his sons. Defeated, the Emperor loses his fighting spirit, but shortly after an announcement comes that the Empress has arrived, prompting him to regain his energy and be lovey-dovey with her. Meanwhile, Ariel notices that the Empress has the aura of someone named Beto, meaning she doesn't have much time left. Suddenly, the Empress embraces Ariel and quickly feeds her belof, a rare fruit. She asks if she can only eat this food when Ariel is around, making Ariel determined to keep the Empress alive at all costs. Shortly after, Ariel announces to everyone that she will stay with the Empress, stirring a commotion in the room. Beto is the god of death, and the only one who can rival him is Asheron. Luckily, Ariel has some tricks up her sleeve to deal with him. Right now, she decides to sleep beside the Empress. Though she feels reluctant because of her sickness, she claims that this will be the first time in a long time that she's held someone while they were sleeping. Confused, Ariel asks why, especially since the Empress has twins. She explains that the two aren't very attached to her because she wasn't able to be with them much due to her illness. When she returned after isolating herself for 4 years, her sons were already distant towards her. So now she's very grateful to Ariel because in a very long time, she'll have a wonderful sleep tonight. The following morning, Elver asks Claude what happens if their mother dies, prompting the latter to become upset. Elver cries, saying he just overheard the servants. This makes Claude want to punish whoever spreads those rumors. Meanwhile, Ariel watches this unfold and thinks the Empress is wrong. Her sons are obviously attached to her. Shortly after, the twins notice her bothering them, and the three once again exchange childish banter. Afterward, Ariel declares that the Empress will not die. Claude wonders how she knows this, to which she explains it's because of belof, the fruit. Of course, this confuses him. Suddenly, Ariel senses something and leaves the two. There's commotion in the palace, and Ariel quickly rushes to the Empress, only to find a cloaked man. The man is Beto, the god of death. Ariel drags Beto into a quiet garden, away from watching eyes, determined to talk before he dares touch the Empress. Though just a child, she speaks with authority, warning him that she knows his dark secret, the truth that he helped the monster Fabio escape. Fabio betrayed Asheron, king of the gods, and for that alone, Beto should have been punished. After all, Ariel is a goddess herself. Beto is stunned. No one should have seen that moment, and no one alive could have known, especially not a child like Ariel. But she has her secret ability, Phantom Vision, a rare power that shows glimpses of the past or future, though she can't control when or what she sees. He grabs her shoulders, demanding to know how she discovered such a thing. She lifts her chin, speaking with calm pride, declaring that she'll become the ruler of the heavens one day. Her confidence unnerves him, and Beto realizes he must tread carefully around this girl. He considers her a threat when she literally knows one secret he never speaks to anyone. Ariel proposes a deal. He must not touch the Empress, and in return, she will keep his secret safe. Reluctantly, he agrees, feeling trapped and outwitted by a child who now controls his next moves. Time passes, but the Empress remains sick. Ariel grows desperate and seeks out Beto again, fury in her voice as she yells at him for not helping. She demands answers, shouting that the Empress should be healed by now. She still looks cute with her childlike appearance. Beto sighs deeply, explaining that he's not a healer but a Shinigami, a god of death, and cannot cure illness. He says only the god of medicine can help with such matters. Ariel points a finger at him, ordering him to summon that god as if she holds command over all. Beto hesitates but knows he has no choice. Ariel's knowledge of his betrayal could destroy him if revealed. So once again, he bows to her will, realizing he is now bound by the power of a girl who was never meant to survive. Poor Beto. Ariel really can be bossy. Most of the time. Pavelo, the god of medicine, arrives with a bright energy that completely contrasts Beto's grim presence. He instantly recognizes Ariel as a goddess, even though she lives among humans. What puzzles him the most is how she managed to make Beto ask him for a favor, when Beto never asks anyone for help. Oh, she just knows his weakness. Without hesitation, Ariel commands Pavelo to heal the empress. Pavelo agrees, but only if she tells him Beto's weakness in return. Beto's eyes widen in shock as Ariel opens her mouth to speak. But before she can say anything, Ariel cleverly uses the same trick as before to silence herself. In exchange for keeping his secret, she makes Beto remove another name from his list of souls to collect. Though frustrated, Beto agrees, knowing she holds too much power over him. Later, the three of them search the garden behind the palace for a rare medicinal herb Pavelo described. Even after everything, Beto still feels like Ariel's servant, obeying her every word. He knows he could end this with a snap of his fingers, yet he never does. He sighs, realizing he's completely at the mercy of this strange child, who is actually a 200-year-old goddess. Every command she gives, he follows like a loyal shadow. Despite his strength, Beto knows he cannot afford to lose to her wit. Poor Beto! Soon, Ariel visits the Empress, bringing the herb with her. The king looks confused when she hands over what looks like ordinary grass. But the Imperial Doctor lights up with joy and quickly brews a potion from the herb. In moments, the Empress fully recovers, astonishing everyone in the room. Just as the king considers adopting Ariel into the royal family, the Grand Duke suddenly arrives. With a firm voice, he declares that Ariel is his daughter and refuses to let her go again. Lucky Ariel, she's being fought over by these two. During the carriage ride, the Grand Duke quietly tells Ren to assign a bodyguard for Ariel, fearing the king might try something again. Ren obeys, but wonders in silence why the Grand Duke is so attached. After all, Ariel isn't his real daughter, yet he holds her so close. In the Grand Duke's thoughts, Ariel reminds him of himself. Both are judged too quickly by others, and both hide deeper strength behind quiet eyes. He feels a connection to her, the kind that can't be explained by blood alone. Later that day, Ariel is finally allowed to choose a personal guard from the knights. She chooses Herian, a quiet young man with silver hair and a calm presence. In her imagination, he is like the aides of gods, noble, silent, and sworn in loyalty. Plus, he is handsome. She expects Herian to kneel before her and pledge himself with pride. Days pass, yet the moment never comes. He remains silent, distant, and never once swears an oath. Ariel starts to grow frustrated. Herian is always overthinking, and his quiet nature makes her feel like he's avoiding her. She wonders if he sees her as a burden rather than someone worthy of protection. Later, she learns something that changes her view. A knight's oath of loyalty is only given once in their life, and only to someone they truly admire. That's why Herian hasn't spoken it. He doesn't see her that way. At least not yet. Maybe soon? Determined, Ariel makes it her mission to earn his trust and respect. She decides she will show him strength, not just through words, but through actions. If he's going to serve her, it must be because he chooses to. Ariel watches him from a distance, observing how he moves and responds to danger. Herian is always alert, always ready, but never shows his thoughts. He guards her well, even if he keeps his heart closed. She wonders what he's hiding behind that silence, but she doesn't give up. She knows loyalty isn't something to demand. It's something to earn. In her mind, she envisions the moment when he will kneel, sword in hand, and call her his one true lady. Until then, she will keep trying. Herian may not speak now, but Ariel believes he eventually will. I think it's supposed to be Herian's responsibility to show to Ariel that he's deserving to be her knight, but things must have changed now? Herian watches Ariel from a distance, but keeps quiet, lost in his thoughts. In his mind, he sees the past, his younger self struggling with sword training and constantly falling behind the other knights. He remembers feeling weak, unable even to protect himself. Every swing he made felt pointless, and each failure crushed his pride. To be a knight means to protect someone, but how can he do that if he can't defend himself? He believes he doesn't deserve to give an oath of loyalty, not when he doubts his own strength. In the present, Ariel tries her best to connect with him. She offers him her favorite cookies, helps him to avoid a ball that nearly hits him, and always smiles despite his silence. But no matter what she does, Herian still refuses to swear his oath. Ariel feels discouraged, wondering if she isn't good enough. Her maidservant gently tells her that maybe Herian has his own reason, and she just needs to be patient. She listens, but still wishes he would open up to her soon. Later that day, Ariel brings Herian to the garden where she was stung by bees before. She recalls how helpless she is, but this time, she hides insect spray in her pocket, hoping to fake danger and impress him with her cleverness. She wants him to think they are in trouble, and so she will save Herian. It's supposed to be him saving her? But things go terribly wrong. A strange man suddenly grabs Ariel, covering her mouth and pulling her close. Herian freezes, his heart racing with panic and disbelief. Ariel is in great danger, and if he won't do anything, she'll be abducted from the bad guys. The man tries to drag Ariel away, and for a moment, Herian stands frozen in fear. His eyes widen as he sees her struggle, her small fist pounding against the attacker's grip. Then, something inside him snaps. He draws his blade and charges, no longer thinking, only moving. Steel clashes with steel as Herian strikes the first enemy. The man is fast, skilled, and cruel, but Herian blocks his blows with surprising strength. Just when he gains the upper hand, 2 more enemies rush from the shadows, surrounding him. Ariel gasps as another attacker grabs her arm, yanking her away from Herian. Her heart pounds as she realizes she's the true target, not just a random noble child. She screams his name, hoping he will hear her through the chaos. Herian stumbles back, outnumbered and overwhelmed. In that moment, his past flashes before him. The days of failure, the laughter of knights who said he was too weak to protect anyone. But now, Ariel's voice cuts through those memories, shouting, not in fear, but in faith. Her words strike deeper than any blade. Herian tightens his grip, stands tall, and charges forward again. He takes a hit to the side, but doesn't stop. With renewed strength, he spins and disarms one enemy, then blocks another's attack with his shoulder. He fights not just to win, but to prove, to himself and to Ariel, that he is worthy. One by one, he knocks them down, tying their hands with a piece of torn cloth. To find someone who believes in you amidst all disappointments is so rare. Finally, Herian saves Ariel from the kidnappers. He walks over, falls to one knee, and places his sword down in front of her. From this day forward, he says, voice hoarse, he'll swear his loyalty to her. He'll protect her with his life. Ariel stares at him, her eyes wide and full of emotion. Then a soft smile forms on her lips, and she is so happy that Herian swears loyalty to her. Patience is a virtue. From that moment on, Herian is no longer just a guard. He is her knight, her shield, and her first sworn protector. And though he once doubted himself, today he finds a new strength. Not born from power, but from purpose. The Grand Duke arrives at the Imperial Palace, greeted warmly by the king, queen, and greeted especially by Ariel, who is clearly their favorite. He smiles politely, but deep down he knows the king is behind the recent attempt to take Ariel from his estate. This visit is not just for courtesy. He is here to remind the king that Ariel is his daughter, not the king's. Aw, they are so cute fighting over her. Trying to win her over, the king lures Ariel with plates of desserts, promising more if she agrees to become his daughter. The Grand Duke, not one to lose, offers her favorite cookies in return, making sure she remembers who truly raised her. Ariel enjoys the treats, but senses the tension between the two men. Suddenly, Crown Prince Garud enters the room with a serious expression. He scolds both his father and the Grand Duke, comparing their argument to that of stubborn children. Then, he turns to the Empress, greeting her with warmth and finally reconciling after being distant for so long. The Crown Prince really changes his attitude around his mother. How lovingly! When he learns that Ariel saved his mother, he looks at her closely. Her name, her hair, and her presence stir something deep in his memory. Without hesitation, he asks to speak with her alone, leading her quietly to the garden. Ariel, who's carried by him, is unsure why he's acting so serious. In the garden, Garud greets her not as a child, but as someone he once knew. He believes she's the goddess Ariel. He reminds her of a promise made long ago under the moonlight. Ariel tilts her head, confused by his words. She thinks he must be mistaken, saying perhaps he made that promise to a different goddess. Maybe Ariel just forgot? But then Garud hesitates. He remembers clearly that the goddess Ariel was not a child. Still, he apologizes gently for his mistake, bowing slightly before turning to leave. Ariel pouts and stomps her foot in frustration, only to twist her ankle and fall to the ground. Her older brother rushes over and carries her, worried as he takes her to the doctor. While being scolded for being rude to the crown prince, Ariel mutters that she'll never forgive him. Meanwhile, walking alone, Garud remembers the goddess's final words, wishing for him to never lose hope as she'll watch over him. The promise they made under the moonlight. Oh, Ariel, he really must have been holding that promise deep in his heart. The crown prince continues thinking about the words of the goddess as he walks through the palace halls. In the past, under the soft moonlight, the goddess Ariel promised she would watch over him. But now, he doubts himself. How can the same goddess exist as a child? Meanwhile, Ariel lies in bed, bored and annoyed about her sprained ankle. She keeps replaying her talk with Garud in her mind, confused by his words. She tells herself he must be silly to mistake her for the goddess that promises something she can barely recall. A young boy peeks into her room, smiling shyly. He greets her warmly, bringing cheerful energy like a puppy wagging its tail. Ariel stares at him, then bluntly calls him a puppy, which makes him flustered but not upset. Prince Elviel is surely a cute boy. He explains that he brought a gift for her sprained ankle, hoping it would make her smile. Unfortunately, he forgot and left it somewhere downstairs. He runs off to find it, determined to bring it to her. As he searches the palace, he steps into the back garden. There, something strange catches his eye. A butterfly, glowing and shimmering with light. It flutters gently like a fairy, but he sees only a beautiful insect. The boy laughs quietly and whispers a wish for Ariel to be happy. He reaches out to catch the butterfly, thinking it will make a perfect gift. But the moment he touches it, the air shifts around him. The garden changes. The colors grow deeper, the breeze turns still, and time feels like it's slowing down. The butterfly rises higher, its glow turning silver, casting soft light over the flowers. For a brief second, he feels like he's entered another world. His eyes widen as he stares at the floating light. It's more than just a butterfly now. There's something magical about it, something divine. But he doesn't fully understand what he's touched, and he's left in a daze. Back in her room, Ariel suddenly feels a strange warmth around her. She sits up slightly, sensing something about Prince Elviel. He has not come back till sundown. The maidservant told her that the prince has left the estate and is in a full daze, but Ariel shrugs it off, thinking it must not be something trivial. One sunny morning, the Grand Duke tells Ariel and her brother that Prince Elviel, the one she fondly calls Puppy, has fallen seriously ill. Ariel listens quietly while nibbling on her favorite cookies, but her attention sharpens when she hears the strange symptoms. Elviel lies in bed all day, unresponsive, trapped in a dreamlike state no one can explain. Doctors are confused, unable to diagnose him, and even the Empress grows sick from worry. Ariel immediately asks her father if they can visit the Imperial Palace. The Grand Duke sighs but gives in, unable to refuse the pleading eyes of his precious daughter. Upon arriving, Ariel's brother warns her not to wander, but she slips away the moment she gets the chance. She runs straight to Prince Elviel's room and gasps when she sees a shimmering, glowing butterfly. It flutters gently over Elviel's head, casting a strange light around the room. This is no ordinary insect. It's a hallucination butterfly, a rare creature from the heavenly realm. Though harmless to gods, its presence causes humans to see illusions, making it dangerous in the mortal world. These creatures are meant to stay in the celestial realm under careful watch. Ariel steps forward and speaks firmly to the butterfly, commanding it to stop haunting Elviel. She asks it to show her the hallucination it gave him. The vision reveals Elviel's wish, for Ariel to be surrounded by beauty and happiness, and for everyone around her to be well. He really is a kind boy. Ariel softens at his wish but stays firm. She tells the butterfly that even kind wishes can harm humans if misunderstood. Humans are fragile, she says, and shouldn't be thrown into confusion. With calm focus, she raises her hand and uses her divine power. The air glows as she sends the butterfly gently back to the heavenly realm. Elviel stirs in bed, color returning to his cheeks as his illness lifts. Ariel smiles in relief, proud that her powers were enough this time. Just as she reflects on the butterfly's presence in the human world, she hears a voice. She turns in surprise to see Crown Prince Garud staring at her. Did he see everything? Crown Prince Garud steps closer and bends down, bringing his face to Ariel's eye level. His voice is soft but serious, making it known that, as I thought, She is the one he's been waiting for all this time. Ariel's heart pounds. She's still mad at him for calling her a child, even though she really is the goddess he claimed she wasn't. He really waited for you. He begins to share his past, voice steady with memory. Years ago, he was ordered to guard the Empire's northern border while his father remained in the capital. He arrived in a cold, barren land where crops wouldn't grow and people suffered from raids by foreign races. Every day, he defended the border from threats beyond, feeling proud to protect his people. But the cold, the loneliness, and the weight of command slowly drained his spirit. One day, standing high on a cliff, he made a silent wish. To be seen, to be saved. That's when the hallucination butterfly appeared, answering his wish. But it brought him close to death. He slipped and fell, heart sinking as he sensed the end. But just before his body could hit the ground, a goddess appeared and caught him. That goddess was Ariel. Taller, graceful, and radiant with power. She held his hand and told him his efforts mattered, and that he must never lose hope. She promised she would watch over him, and those words carried him through the darkness. Now seated with Ariel on a sofa, he finally opens up, telling her everything. He hesitated at first because she now looks like a child, but the moment he saw her heal Prince Elviel, he knew. She is the same goddess who once saved him. Ariel listens carefully, but her brows furrow in confusion. She has no memory of this past. Garud explains that although she is 200 years old, she is not fully matured. Her powers are sealed, and that may be why her memories are missing. Ariel begins to wonder how she truly ended up in the human world, and why the mighty Acheron has never come to rescue her. What could possibly be the story behind everything? So guys, what do you think of this story so far? Please subscribe and turn on notifications for updates on this and all our other stories, so you can be the first to find out when they're out. Thank you so much for your support. See you in the next one!